Thursday, December 6th. Present. Ben. Hospital. Ramstein, AFB, Germany. It has to be early morning because there isn't much light in the room. The pain woke me about an hour ago, but I'm not sure what hurts more, my arm or my heart. I can't stop worrying about Zarika and Yasmin. I'm amazed at my feelings for them. I really do love them. I can only hope they listened to me and followed our plans. Somehow, I need to get back to them and bring them here like I promised. I look at my right arm and determine I'm not going anywhere for a while. Not with this wound. It doesn't hurt as bad as yesterday, and the smell isn't as bad. Motion at the door alerts me as the nurse comes in the room to turn and medicate me. SM Blaine. It's good to see you're awake, she whispers so as not to wake Jens. I've been awake for about an hour now. How do you feel? She asks. It's the first question everyone seems to want to ask me, and it's also the hardest question for me to answer. I decide to just give her the physical answer. The arm doesn't hurt as much as yesterday. Let me give you something for pain before we turn you on your back. Please, I don't want anything for pain if it's a narcotic. Ask the doctor if I can have something non-narcotic and non-addictive, I tell her. After letting the girls down, I deserve to feel the pain. I'm sorry. We don't have orders for anything else. She replies. Then we'll do this without anything. Please ask the doctor when he comes in for different pain medication. I'll try to be gentle, she says as she pulls the pillows from behind me and rolls me onto my back. It hurts some, but the pain feels good. Here, take a drink of water for me, she whispers. I took a small drink, not wanting to upset my stomach. Is there anything else I can do for you? She asks. No, thank you. You were very gentle. Here's your call button. Press it if you need anything. I'll be back in a couple of hours to check on you. She turned and left the room. I look over and see Jens asleep in the chair beside my bed. Her snoring makes me smile, and I remember all the great times we've had. How can I tell her about the girls? What will she say and do when I tell her? I decide I want her close to me, so I say, Jens, hey my beautiful sleeping girl, wake up. She stirs in the chair, yawns and stretches. Huh. Oh Ben, you're awake. She comes over beside the bed and holds my hand. I can see the undying love in her eyes. Jens, pinch me. I want to make sure this isn't a dream. I can do better than that, she says, kicks off her shoes and jumps into bed with me. My love, how do you feel this morning? Damn, it's that question again. I slide my left hand down her back, squeeze her butt and laugh. I can feel fine with this hand. Even with her mask on, I see her blush. Yes, that feels fine to me too. I've missed your touches. I've missed your sweet kisses even more. She takes off the mask and gives me a hell of a kiss. Screw the nurses. I'm not wearing this damn mask anymore. She throws it on the floor and gives me another hot kiss. Almost everything seems right in the world again. If only I wasn't wounded, and if only the girls were here, it would be perfect. My love, remember I can sense your feelings, but they are more hidden than before. All I can sense are vague feelings. Why are you sad right now? Jens asks. I look at her, and I can't bear to tell her the truth, so I hug her tight. I can't talk about it right now, Jens. She snuggles close to me. I felt some of the things they did to you and I understand. If you ever want to talk about it, I'm here for you. She gives me another kiss and says, let's see if we can get back to sleep for a while. And for the first time in what has seemed a lifetime, we slept together. Present. Jens. Hospital. Ramstein, AFB, Germany. Ben slept all day and through the night until early morning. He woke me, and it reminded me of the many times before he was captured when we slept together. I'm sick and tired of the hospital rules, so I jump into bed with him, kiss the hell out of him, and throw my mask away. He's been through a hell I only know a little of, and I can't sense his feelings like I could before. Now it's just a vague, overall feeling of sadness. How the hell can he be sad? He escaped and made it back. I don't think he realizes it yet, but his injury is going to end his career as a Marine, at least as a Marine sniper. And I don't think Ben's going to want to shuffle papers or train others. My guess is he will retire. Once he retires, then we can finally get married. Just the thought has me so excited. I haven't told him yet about my problems because he has too many problems of his own. I went AWOL, was thrown out of the Marines in disgrace, and locked up. To be truthful, I'm very embarrassed about it, and I can't think of a way to tell him. I failed him. I wasn't able to convince anyone other than Liz he was still alive, and then I wasn't able to rescue him. The only 2 times I've ever failed in my life, and they have to be so frickin' huge. He falls back to sleep and I cuddle with him. I'm doing my best to sense his feelings, but I don't have any luck. My mind wanders to Liz. What the hell is she doing now? I'm more confused than I've ever been. Ben's homecoming hasn't been anything like I imagined it would be. Ben is strange, which is sort of understandable after what he's been through. But Liz is acting almost psychotic. Too many questions, too few answers, and my two best friends are acting strange. As I ponder, I slowly drift off to sleep. Flashback Natasha, Yints, Sakurpasa Airport at Adana, Turkey, Sunday, October 14th. Liz really came through for me. I never would have made it off the base if it wasn't for her. But now I have a new problem. How am I going to make it back to Kabul? I don't have a passport, I don't have any money, and I don't have anything right now except for Liz. And my poor Ben. I can sense and feel waves of pain going through his body. Hang on, honey. I'm coming to save you. Liz wanted to take care of things, and I'm extremely anxious and agitated. I needed to simmer down, or I would attract the attention of people I didn't want to notice me. I leaned back and tried to remain calm, and it worked for a short while until I noticed a couple of policemen looking at me. I smiled at them, but it didn't work as they slowly started walking towards me. Oh shit. I'm screwed. Liz returns right before they get to me, hands me a Canadian passport, a ticket for Kabul, and press credentials. I quickly glanced at the name, Natasha Akunin. The police walked up. Documents, please. One requested. Liz turned to face him and handed him our passport and press credentials. What is this? Are you harassing the press from the Truth Network? She spit out. The police looked at the passports and moved back a step. Sorry, Miss Morgan and Miss Akunin. We're just trying to do our job. She snatched the passports back. And is your job harassing us? No, miss. It's just Miss Akunin seemed very nervous to us, and we needed to check to make sure she wasn't a terror. Of course she's nervous because this is her first assignment to Turkey. Does she look like a terror to you? When she swore at them, they blushed, apologized profusely, and left. I looked at her when they left. You sure put them in their place. Liz laughed. They aren't used to having a woman stand up to them, but I wasn't going to have them push us around. Now, let's get to our flight. Liz grabbed most of the gear, and we headed towards the gate. I asked Liz, why did you choose the last name, Akunin? She looked at me like she couldn't believe the question. Don't tell me I know something about Ben you don't know? I gave her a puzzled look. Liz, what the hell do you mean? Yints, I should make you suffer and not tell you. But you've been through enough already. One of Ben's favorite authors is Boris Akunin. Liz replied. He sounds Russian. He is and writes great mysteries. I especially like Sister Pelagia and the White Bulldog, and all the stories about Detective Erast Petrovich Vandrin are great. I was upset because Liz knew this and I didn't. How the hell did you find this out? She laughed. I asked Ben. I couldn't think of anything else to say. Oh, she giggled. Don't be so upset. You still know many things about him I don't. I smiled at her. You're right. I just want to know everything about him. Yints, you need to let parts of him be a mystery to you. Leave something to discover later. Once again, Liz amazed me. We walked to the ticket counter and checked the heavy bags, then we went to the gate for our flight. Current, Liz, Thursday, December 6th, flight to Dushanbe. For the first time in a very long time, I wasn't sure what to do and how to figure out what went on with Ben while he was captured. I sat and thought and decided the only thing I could do is to try to retrace his steps. That means I have to get back to Dushanbe, Tajikistan, and find the guards that chased those two wives or sisters or girls away. I called Bernie and John and told them to keep filming the reunion of Ben and Yints. We were making a small fortune for the videos. They could upload them to our secure server, and I would do the intro and exit parts remotely. They asked me what I was doing, but I decided not to tell them. This secret cannot be shared. I caught the next flight to Dushanbe and started to formulate my plan on the trip. Flashback, Liz, Sakurpasa Airport at Adana, Turkey, Sunday, October 14th. It was hell getting the passport and press credentials for Yints. The forger I went to demanded payment in multiple ways. Several of those were uncomfortable and things I don't normally do. I sure hope Yints doesn't notice how funny I'm walking. Yints was just getting ready to be picked up by the local police when I showed up. I gave them hell, partially because I was still pissed at the forger. I plan on turning his, but into the police when we get to Kabul. I'm sure the inmates in the Turkish prison he goes to will be even harder on him than he was on me. Damn, the things I do for love. We made it on the plane just fine and we're sitting next to each other. Natasha, you need to try to relax. You're still attracting too much attention. Sorry, Liz, I can't relax knowing what Ben is going through. I shushed her. Natasha, you can't talk about it right now. She looked at me and smiled. Yeah, you're right, but it's the only thing on my mind. I needed to get her mind on something else. I leaned over and whispered in her ear, Natasha, use your incredible brain to make a plan for how you're going to find and rescue your man. That's a great idea, she said as she sat back. I could almost see the wheels turning in her head. Flashback, Zarika and Yasmin, Tajikistan, late day 17. Ben was very sick and very upset at us. We were very bad. We slept and did not take care of him. So he made us sit up front while men, not us his loving wives, took care of him. Yasmin kept poking at me. Quit poking me. This is all your fault. You did not take care of Bin. Yasmin accused me. I was tired of her, so I punched her in the nose. It made her nose bleed, and she jumped on top of me. We were fighting like crazy, pulling hair, hitting and biting each other. The driver and the other passenger tried to stop us. We ran off the road and into the ditch. The truck was bouncing all over. It almost tipped over and finally ran into a rock. The two men grabbed us, pulled us apart, and pulled us outside of the truck. I heard Ben start yelling from the back in pain. Sasha yelled, "What is happening?" Ben was just tossed around and his arm is bleeding again. Alexei, the driver, answered, "The girls were fighting again and caused me to wreck the truck." Sasha answered, "Tie them both up, and if they keep talking, put a gag in their mouths." "You are not tying me up," I said, and fought Alexei. "Me either," Yasmin added, and started fighting with Sergey, who was holding her. I used some of the tricks Ben taught me to break free from Alexei, then I ran over and helped Yasmin get free from Sergey. We stood facing the two men. "You cannot tie us up. We will fight all of you," I said. "We will kick your guts," Yasmin added. I looked at her. "She means we will kick your butts." Sasha and Oleg jumped out of the back to help. Alexei rushed me, and I punched him in the nose very hard, and he fell to the ground. Oleg grabbed Yasmin. "Zarika, help me," she shouted. He had his back to me, so I ran over and kicked him in the crotch. He let out a yell, let go of Yasmin, and fell to the ground. The other two men were more careful. We heard Bin yell from the back of the truck, "What the hell is going on?" Flashback, Bin, Tajikistan, late day 17. I was snapped awake by the pain as the truck was bouncing all over hell. I didn't know what the hell was going on, but I was sure Zarika and Yasmin had something to do with it. It didn't take long for the suspicion to be confirmed when I heard they were fighting again and caused the truck to wreck. I heard a fight outside the truck. Oleg and Sasha left the back to help. If I wasn't so sick, I would have chuckled because it sounded like Zarika and Yasmin were holding their own. I knew I needed to do something so we could get moving again, so I shouted, "Girls, Zarika and Yasmin, come here now." "Ben, we cannot. The men are trying to tie us up," Zarika yelled back. "I'm so sick and tired and fed up with this crap." "Okay, everyone, quit it and come back here right now." I heard some low talking I couldn't make out, and a couple minutes later 4 of them peeked in the back of the truck. "Where are Oleg and Alexei?" I asked. Sasha replied, "Zarika hurt both of them, so they won't be here for a while." I stifled a chuckle. "Sasha, how bad is the truck damaged?" "Ben, I think the truck will be okay. Alexei didn't hit the rock very hard." "Girls, I need to talk seriously to both of you." They made sure I could see them. "You two are a big disappointment to me. You keep fighting all the time because you are both being selfish. Do you realize if you have caused the truck to be broken, I will probably die?" They both look down at the ground and start crying. I continue, "You will both ride up front until we reach Dushanbe." "But Ben, who will take care of you?" Yasmin asked. "Sasha is taking very good care of me, and I want him to continue. Do you both understand me and my orders?" "Yes, Ben," they both said. They both looked so sad. It was breaking my heart. "I've changed my mind. One of you at a time will ride with me back here and help Sasha. The other will ride up front. You will switch places every 2 hours as long as you don't fight. If you fight even once, then you will both sit up front." They started squabbling about who was first in the back. I cleared my throat and they both shut up. "Yasmin, you can be with Ben first," Zarika said, shocking me. Alexei and Oleg finally made it to the back of the truck. "Ben, are we ready to go?" Oleg asked. "How's the truck, Alexei?" I replied. "This is a strong truck and it is fine," he replied. Sasha and Yasmin climbed in the back with me, and everyone else jumped into the cab. Yasmin was putting cool washcloths on my head, and it felt very good. "Yasmin, I need to sleep for just a little bit. Please wake me up in 2 hours when you and Zarika switch places," Sasha said. "Yes, Sasha. What should I do for Ben?" "Just keep the cool washcloths on his head and give him a little water to drink," Sasha said, and went to sleep. I remember Yasmin giving me a big kiss on the lips as I slowly drifted off to sleep. Flashback, Yasmin, Tajikistan, late day 17. I was very happy I could take care of Ben. I hated sitting up front with the men. They smelled like goats and things even worse. Even with his smelly bad arm, Ben still smelled better. Sasha did the hard work and left me to give loving care to my husband, and I really liked it. Once we got Ben all settled and Sasha decided to take a nap and gave me time to show Ben how much I loved him. I know I shouldn't have, but I gave him a big kiss as he drifted off to sleep. As Ben slept, I continued putting cool cloths on his head and giving him kisses. I even lay down beside him and cuddled very close to him, pretending it was our wedding night. I don't know about this Jens girl he thinks he's in love with, but I know she can't be as pretty as I am. Flashback, Ben. Late 1999, heading back to Jack's house after the briefing. It was exciting hearing about our next mission because I could finally use some more of my training. And if this target was as much of a rat scumsucker as the last one, and I'm pretty sure he is, it's one more dead and deserving a-hole in hell. I was on pins and needles while Jack was driving home. Hey Ben, you'd better simmer down, or you're going to wear a hole in my car seat. Jack laughed. Sorry Jack, I just can't wait to go on our next mission. Then I realized that ever since I was with that little girl Jennifer, I hadn't thought about the bitch Susan. I remembered the pencil Jennifer gave me, so I pulled it out of my pocket and looked at it. It had teeth marks and a bunch of hearts on it. She'd even written BB plus JD on it. What a strange little girl she was. Then I wondered, could BB be me? No frickin' way, as I dismissed it with a chuckle. What's so funny? Jack asked. Nothing, Jack. I was just daydreaming. Hey Jack, can we swing by and pick up my car? Sure. You have your keys with you? Right here. He changed directions, and we headed back to my old apartment as I started humming again. I saw him glance out of the corner of his eyes at me, and I stopped humming, realizing it was the bridal march again. Damn, I hate it. Once I hear a song, it's stuck in my head forever. My mouth dropped open as we pulled up to my old apartment. I opened the door, got out of Jack's car, and looked at what used to be my car. All the windows were broken out, and the interior was trashed. It even smelled like someone had peed in the car. The tires were slashed, the hood was open, and the engine was destroyed. Jack walked up beside me. Looks like someone decided to get even. What do you mean? Jack told me about the fight between Anna and Susan. I didn't know whether to believe everything he told me. Jack, are you BSing me? He gave me a hurt look. Listen, I'm not BSing you. I'll never lie to you. You can even ask Anna. Sorry, Jack. Anna just doesn't seem the type to do what you said. He laughed with his deep baritone laugh. Ben, there's one thing you need to learn. Never, ever get a woman seriously upset at you. I looked at the car one more time, and it was a mental image reinforcing what Jack said. This car was a piece of junk anyway. Let's take the plates off it and call a junkyard to come pick it up. Jack went to his trunk and came back with a screwdriver, and we recovered the plates. I'll call a junkyard when we get back to the house, Jack said. Susan came walking up right as we were getting ready to leave. I barely recognized her. Her face was swollen, bruised, and she had tape over her nose. Plus, she could barely walk. Hope you like your precious car now, you little prick. She gave new meaning to the word nasty. Any love I had for her had turned into hate. I coolly replied, it looks almost as beat up as your face, and is probably only half as screwed as you are. Jack let go a huge laugh. That's telling the nasty 304. Let's go home. We didn't make it to the car because a couple of sailors showed up. One looked at Jack and said, Hey stupid jarhead, did you just insult my girlfriend? Jack bristled and replied, I've always heard sailors will fight over anything, even each other. He swung at Jack, but I was already prepared. I blocked his arm, brought it down into an armbar, and shoved him as hard as I could in the chest. I heard his ribs crack as he hit the ground, gasping for air. His friend tried to land a roundhouse kick. I grabbed his arm, stepped in close, and drove my elbow into his throat before throwing him to the ground. Susan came up and started beating the shit out of me. I just stood there. Jack came over, and time seemed to travel in slow motion as I watched him deck her. When she hit the ground, I turned to the side, started shaking, and threw up. He came up beside me, put his arm around me, and walked me back to his car. He even fastened my seatbelt for me. I was still shaking as we pulled up to his house. He came around and helped me into the house. Flashback, Anna. Late 1999, Jack's house after the briefing. I was waiting for Jack and Ben to come home because I'd made a big dinner to celebrate Ben's first mission. We were going to have Yankee pot roast with all the trimmings and some cheap wine to go with it. I'd even dressed to the nines and shaved my legs. I went to the door when I heard Jack's car pull up and right away knew something was wrong. Jack was almost carrying Ben into the house. Ben was shaking like a leaf in a thunderstorm and was as white as a sheet. What the hell happened? Jack gave me the look that said, shut up. So I did and held the door open for them. He took Ben right into his room and came out a few minutes later. He came up and gave me a hug. Thanks, Anna, for not asking anything else. He looked past me to the table. It looks like you went all out for dinner tonight. I wanted to celebrate Ben's first mission. So can you tell me now what happened? He told me about how Ben's car was trashed, and then how the little 304 showed up and how Ben stood up to her. I laughed when Jack described Ben's comebacks. Anna, you should have seen him take out those two sailors. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone faster. He reacted before I could even move. So what messed him up, my love? Well, Susan came up and started hitting him and kicking him, and he just froze. She could have beaten him to death, and he wouldn't have done anything about it. So I went over and decked her, and that's when he started shaking and then he puked. He's been that way ever since. I was damned pissed off, Jack. I'm gonna go over and kick her butt again. The little 304 didn't learn anything. He grabbed me and hugged me. Don't go doing something stupid. We got away with it once, but do it again and you might end up in trouble. You think we should hold dinner for Ben? Jack looked towards the second bedroom. I don't think he'll be out tonight. Let's put a plate at his place on the table just in case. I set the table and even put food on Ben's plate and wine in his glass. We finished dinner, but Ben never came out of his room. Flashback, Jack. Late 1999, Jack's house after dinner. Anna had such a nice dinner planned. It was a shame Ben missed it. I made sure we left the food on his plate, and the wine is his glass so he would see he was welcome in our house. There were things I wanted to talk with her about, but Ben's room was too close to the dining room. After dinner I said, let's take a little walk. I left Ben a note and told him not to worry. We'd be back later, and we took off hand in hand. Anna, I have a real problem, and I'm not sure how to handle it. She looked at me with concern. It's about Ben not being able to defend himself against a woman, isn't it? She was so astute. That was one of the things I loved about her. That's right. Someday he's either going to have to kill a woman or be killed himself. She squeezed my hand tight. Have you ever had to kill a woman? I looked at her, unfortunately twice. They were both going to kill me. How did you feel about it? She probed. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, and it bothers me to this day. We walked for a while in silence, then she said, Jack, something in Ben's past has him overly sensitive to hurting women. Maybe his dad beat his mom, but from what you've told me about her, I don't think so. So it must be something else. The problem is Ben can't distinguish between a woman that wants to kill him or seriously hurt him and a woman that's just angry at him. Somehow we need to teach him the difference. We walked on a while and I said, I've got a couple of ideas. What do you think about this? And I told her my ideas. She smiled and said, you know, this just might work. How about if we go home and put phase 1 of this plan into action? We hurried home. Flashback, Anna. Late 1999, Jack's house after the walk. I walked into the house, stormed into Ben's room, throwing the door open and yelled, you sorry excuse for a Marine. Quit lying on the bed feeling sorry for yourself. Get your butt to the table and eat the nice dinner I made just for you. I had to keep from laughing. Ben jumped up so fast it scared me. Yes, miss. Sorry, Mississippi. He ran to the table and sat down. I walked in and stood by my chair acting all snotty and like a bitch. Aren't you going to get my chair for me? He jumped up knocking over his chair and held my chair for me. I sat down and he went back to his chair and sat down and began to eat. Thank you, Anna. This is really good. I looked him straight in the eyes. Ben, why did you just act the way you did to me? I was a real bitch to you. He looked down at the table. I don't know. I called Jack into the room. Jack, if I would have treated you that way, what would you have done? He looked at Ben and said, I would have asked you if you were PMS. Why would you ask me that, Jack? 2 reasons. First, you didn't treat Ben with respect, and second, no one deserves to be treated badly. I looked at Ben. Ben, you treat women with more respect than they deserve. Don't you think you deserve at least some respect from them? He looked down at the table. I guess so. I grinned at Jack and yelled, what the hell did you just say to me, Ben? He didn't answer right away. Instead, I could see him thinking. He looked up at me and said, Anna, are you PMS? And then he smiled. Jack and I laughed. Jack poured us another glass of wine, and we all sat at the table while Ben finished his dinner. Jack looked at Ben as he swirled his wine. Ben, I debated about telling you this, but I think you need to hear what I'm going to say because someday it might save your life. Ben stopped eating and looked at Jack. Now listen to what I say, and don't go getting sick on me. I watched Ben, and he seemed to change a little. It was almost as if the smooth edges were gone and he became hard. Jack continued, the day will come when you will face a decision, and the choice you make will determine whether you live or die. Ben sat up even straighter in his chair, and the soft boy was totally gone. He was a Marine. If we end up going to war in the Middle East, and you know I think we will, they will use women and children against us. I watched, and for a second Ben looked like he was going to get sick. He got himself back under control and said, Jack, you're telling me someday I might have to kill a woman or a child. Unfortunately, that's what I'm telling you. Ben looked down at his plate and played with his food. I could tell he was thinking. After several minutes, he looked up at Jack and asked, Jack, tell me the truth. Have you ever killed a woman or a child? Jack looked down at the table. Ben, I've never had to kill a child, but twice I was forced to kill a woman. Both times they had been shooting at us. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's something that had to be done. I switched between watching Ben and Jack. They were both looking down at the table, and Ben was still playing with his food. The 5 minutes they kept looking at the table seemed like an eternity. but I knew I needed to keep my mouth shut. Things I didn't understand were being worked out. Ben finally looked up at Jack and the adoration was still there. Jack, that had to be hard for you to do, and even harder for you to tell me. Thank you. And he started to eat again. Jack looked across the table at Ben, and I swear he had a tear in his eye. He took a big drink of his wine. Damn, I hate cheap wine. I laughed and said, I wondered when you were going to complain about it. If you don't like it, next time you can go buy the wine. He grinned. Anna, are you PMS? Ben was taking a drink of wine at the time, and it came out through his nose as he started laughing. That broke the ice again, and Ben finished his dinner in a better mood, even joking some. He kept thanking me for the dinner, and it was almost embarrassing. I decided Ben was a good man and needed a nice girl. I racked my brain trying to figure out someone for him. I smiled when I remembered a cute young waitress I worked with. She'd be perfect. Now, how to get the two of them together. Flashback. B.G. Donaldson. Late 1999 at home after a busy day. I was trying to relax at home after working all day. Today was same shit, different day. The only excitement was the sniper team, and then when Jennifer got Ben to walk her home, she didn't tell anyone, and we were all worried. I was damned pissed off at her and Ben until Evelyn told me Jennifer acted happier than she'd been in a very long time. I was watching TV when Jennifer came into the room and jumped into my lap. She was back to wearing the BDUs Evelyn hated. Hello, Daddy. Thank you for letting me come to your office today. It was a lot of fun. Sorry I was a bad girl. I looked at her, and she looked just like a younger Evelyn. Sorry, I had to yell at you. But there are conversations you must not hear. I know, Daddy. Daddy, will you answer a question for me? I looked at her and worried because it might be about the birds and bees. That depends on the question, young lady. First, I want to thank you for teaching me how to shoot because I love shooting. I want to know how to shoot better, like snipers do. Could you, or one of your Marines, teach me? She batted her eyes at me and smiled. Jennifer, I don't have the time to teach you how to shoot better, but we might be able to find a gun club you can go to. Would you like that? She hugged me tight. That would be wonderful, Daddy. Do you think Mommy would let me go? Let her go where? Evelyn asked as she walked into the room. I felt Jennifer tense up. I looked at Evelyn. This could cause a fight. We had fights all the time about how I was turning Jennifer into a tomboy. Jennifer wants to join a gun club to learn how to shoot better. I told her I thought it was a great idea. I saw the look start on Evelyn's face, but Jennifer added, I would also like to take ballet lessons. She smiled at Evelyn. Evelyn gushed, Jennifer, you will look so cute in a nice pink tutu. But I don't know if you will have time for both ballet and a gun club. She stood up, stomped her foot and said, then I won't do either one. She stormed off to her room. Evelyn and I looked at each other in disbelief. What the hell was that? Glenn, I think our little girl is growing up and is starting to get a mind of her own. Well, I think if you want her to take ballet, then you'd better let her join a gun club. Otherwise, it doesn't look like she'll do either one. Evelyn thought for a few moments. I think you're right. I guess the gun club won't hurt anything. She left the room and headed towards Jennifer's bedroom. I sat there and wondered because it sure felt like we had both been manipulated by our young daughter. Surely not. Not by sweet Jennifer. Flashback. Jennifer Donaldson. Late 1999, my room after throwing a fit. I waited in my room on my bed. I knew Mommy would come to my room to talk to me, so I had this all planned out. I really wanted to become a sniper, just like Ben. To do that, I would need to learn how to shoot much better. I had dreamed Daddy would let Ben teach me, and I almost made a mistake and asked him. Daddy would have become suspicious if I asked. I was a little disappointed when he talked about a gun club, but it was better than nothing. I was hoping he could talk Mommy into letting me learn, but I could tell when she walked into the room it was going to be a big fight. So, I used my first secret weapon, the ballet class. I knew she would love for me to study ballet. Just the thought of it almost made me sick. All those mindless girls giggling and prancing around in ugly clothes. Yuck. When she tried to tell me I couldn't do both, well, that's when I used my second secret weapon. I pretended to be upset and threw my pretend fit. I never did this before, but I saw it on a TV show and I thought it might work. Now I just need to be patient and see if Mommy comes into my room like on the TV show. I heard a knock on my door. Jennifer, it's Mommy, can I come in? Now I needed to act just like the snotty little brat on the TV show. No, go away. I don't ever want to talk to you again. Jennifer, come on, be reasonable. Let me come in and talk to you. I almost giggled because it was working. Okay, you can come in, but I don't want to talk. The door opened and I buried my head in my pillow so I wouldn't laugh. Young lady, talk to me. Mommy demanded. No, I don't want to talk to you. I want Daddy. I pinched my arm under the pillow until it made me start crying. Mommy tried to touch me, and I scooted across the bed away from her, just like on TV. Don't touch me ever again. I want Daddy. After several minutes, she gave up and left the room. I was worried I might have been too mean and she might not send Daddy to me. I knew I could talk Daddy into anything. He was easier to work with than Mommy because I was Daddy's girl. I heard a knock on the door. Who is it? Jennifer. It's Daddy. May I come in your room? I smiled. Now I would get my way. I might even be able to get away from doing nasty ballet. Cece, come in, Daddy. Daddy came in the room and sat on my bed beside me. I pretended I was crying and he believed me. Now, Jennifer, what's wrong? Daddy, I want to go to the gun club like you promised me. I never promised you, Daddy started to say, and I pretended to cry even worse. Sure, Jennifer, don't cry. I'll make sure you can go to the gun club, but you're also going to take ballet to keep your mother happy. Rats, I had only won half the battle, but half the battle was better than not winning at all. Besides, if I was bad enough at ballet, they might make me quit the class. I sat up and hugged Daddy. Thank you, Daddy, for keeping your promise to me. I'll go talk with Evelyn and make sure things are okay with her. He left the room. I lay back on the bed and pulled out the picture of Ben and looked at it. Then I kissed it and hugged it close to my chest, just like I wanted to hug him. I hid the picture in my secret place and fell asleep dreaming about our future together. Flashback Ben. Late 1999, Jack's house after the dinner. The meal Anna cooked was very good, even though it was cold. She and Jack had given me a bunch of things to think about. I did the dishes again because it looked like Anna had plans for Jack. If the noise coming from their bedroom was any indication, Jack was getting lucky tonight. I didn't mind doing dishes because it gave me time to think about what Anna had told me. She's right. I do give women more respect than they deserve. Seeing Jack deck Susan made me sick, but secretly I was glad he did because she was beating the hell out of me. Ever since that awful time Dad beat me, I had never hit a woman. Just thinking about it makes me... Flashback, Ben. 8 years old. Warning. There is an account of child abuse in this section. It was hard as hell to write, but very therapeutic for me. If it bothers you, please do not read it. It was a beautiful fall day in Leadville. The aspen were just starting to turn, and the hills were blanketed in golden hues. It was a rare time since the whole family went to town together, and I was extremely excited. I was excited because I might get to see some friends I knew from school. We almost never went to town, so for me it was like a holiday. I asked Dad if I could run around town while he was at the hardware store. He told me to be back in 30 minutes and told me not get in any trouble. I took off down Main Street looking for my friends. I'd never been to any of their houses, so I didn't have any idea where they lived. I didn't have any luck finding any of my friends, but I did run into Beverly Cooper and a group of her girlfriends. I hated them because they thought they were better than anyone else. Beverly was the prettiest girl in our class, and she always teased me. Oh look, the little half-breed came to town, Beverly said, and all her girlfriends giggled. I blushed. Look, he's really a red man now. She kept it up. I tried to walk past her and ignore her, but she grabbed my ear as I walked past and yanked it really hard. Ouch! Quit doing that and leave me alone. I yelled at her. No, I won't, and you can't do anything about it, dirty half-breed. I was angry and looked at her. Stupid little bitch. I'd heard Dad use the bitch word before and I knew it was bad. Her friends gasped and she was shocked. The next thing I knew, she was punching me, so I started fighting back. I gave her a bloody nose and knocked out a loose baby tooth. She was lying on the ground crying when my dad ran up. He attacked me and knocked my tooth out. Beverly lied to my dad. Boy, I told you not to get into trouble, and look what you did. Attacking a defenseless little girl. What in the hell do you think you're doing, you worthless piece of shit? He backhanded me and knocked me to the ground. It stunned me and I saw stars. The next thing I knew, he was dragging me by my arm to the truck. We reached the truck. He grabbed me and threw me in the bed. I slammed head first against his toolbox. It split my head open and I started to bleed. Mom tried to stop him until he yelled at her. The worthless little shit attacked a girl, and I'm going to beat some sense into him, so he never does it again. I saw Beverly and the other girls laughing at me as we drove towards home. I knew my dad, and when he got angry, things would get difficult. I waited until we slowed down while making the turn off the main road onto the dirt road leading to our house, then jumped out of the back of the truck and ran as fast as I could across the field. I didn't know exactly where I was headed, but I knew I needed to get away. I heard the truck stop behind me, and my dad yelled, "Stop running, you little idiot, or I'll make you regret it." I kept running, ignoring him, until I heard a shot land near me, then another one on the other side. "If you don't stop, I'll leave you out here for the coyotes," he shouted, his voice filled with fury. I stopped running, turned and looked at him. He looked like pure evil to me. "Get your butt over here, boy. You made me waste 2 rounds and you're going to have to pay for it." I slowly walked towards the truck, dreading what I knew was coming. "Hurry up, you worthless shit." I trotted to the truck hoping it would please him. I stopped and stood in front of him. He just looked at me and I was scared, but I didn't show it. "Come here, you worthless little shit." He pulled me around to the back of the truck, got out a piece of heavy rope. I'd been through this before, so I assumed the position, with both my hands on the tailgate of the truck, and waited for the beating. "This is for the 2 rounds you made me waste. Next time you run from me, I'll shoot your sorry butt. Do you understand me?" He was swinging the rope as hard as he could as it hit my back. I slowly retreated into the secret place in my mind where no one else could go, and I became hard as nails, until the beating didn't even hurt me. "Do you understand me? If you run again, I'll shoot your sorry butt." I nodded my head. He tied my hands together and then tied the rope to the back of the truck. "So, you like to run, do you? Well, we're gonna let you run all the way to the house. And you'd better not fall or I'll drag your worthless, but all the way home." Mom started to get out to stop him, and I shook my head at her. Didn't want him to beat her. He jumped in the cab, rolled down the window and yelled, "See if you can keep up, you worthless little shit." I wasn't ready for him because he floored the truck and I fell to the ground. He was laughing like a maniac as he dragged me about 10 feet and then stopped. I fought my way back to my feet. He was laughing the whole time. "What's wrong, worthless little shit? You couldn't keep up." This time I was ready and started running before he took off in the truck and had some slack in the rope. I made it about 40 feet before the truck pulled me over again. This time Dad floored it and dragged me for about a minute. He stopped the truck. "Come on, worthless shithead. Get up or I'll keep dragging you." I stumbled to my feet and took off running towards the truck. This time Dad didn't floor it, but drove just fast enough to keep the rope tight. He'd occasionally punch it, and I'd have to sprint to keep from falling. He kept this up until we were almost home when he floored it and dragged me into the yard. I stood up totally exhausted and puked my guts out. He jumped out of the truck, grabbed the rope, and pulled me into the barn. Taking me over to the sawhorse, he tied me face down on top of it. I'd been here before and I knew what was coming. "I'll be back later to teach you a lesson about attacking little girls. You just wait until you see what I have in store for you." I slowly slipped back out of the hard bin to my normal self, and the tears streamed from my eyes. The pain wasn't too bad. I was strong and I could take it. But the humiliation of having Beverly and the other girls see what happened was almost too much to bear. I took some deep breaths and began to prepare myself for what I knew was coming. First, Dad would eat dinner, then he'd get drunk again, then he'd come out and teach me the lesson I needed to learn. He was angrier this time than I'd ever seen him, and I was scared. Finally, I heard the barn door squeak as it opened, and I slipped back into Hard Bin. Hard Bin could take anything. Hard Bin protected me. Someday, Hard Bin was going to kill him. I could smell the booze before he even got near me. He walked up and slapped me on the back of the head. "You awake, you worthless little shit?" I knew the routine and answered, "Yes, sir." "What have you been doing, worthless shithead?" He laughed. "I've been thinking about how I messed up and waiting for my punishment, sir." "And what did you screw up this time, worthless shithead?" He shouted in my ear. This was the most important part because I had to make sure I told him exactly what he wanted to hear, or it would be even worse. I remembered what happened with Beverly and remembered what Dad said. "Sir, I attacked a little girl, gave her a bloody nose and knocked out one of her teeth." "That's right, you worthless little shithead. I think I need to teach you to never hit women, especially little girls. Do you agree?" "Yes, sir." "Yes, sir, what?" He yelled in my ear. "Yes, sir. I need you to teach me to never hit women, especially little girls." I echoed. He pulled out his knife, and I thought for a moment he was going to finally stab me and end it all. I silently prayed he would. He took it and cut the back of my shirt open. I knew soon I'd be feeling his leather belt on my back again, and I braced myself for it. "You know, you really screwed up this time," he said, "and I think I need to teach you a lesson which will stay with you the rest of your life. No worthless little shithead son of mine will ever hit a woman, never. You've disgraced me, boy. All the men in town will be talking about how my worthless son attacked a defenseless little girl." This was different than what normally happened, and even Hard Bin got scared. He walked over to the welding cart, pulled out a welding rod and started swinging it through the air. It made an ominous swish. "Yes, you worthless shithead. You're going to learn this time to never, ever hit a woman or a little girl. Aren't you happy you have a dad like me to teach you these lessons?" "Yes, sir." I stuttered, which was a big mistake. "What the hell did you just say?" He was angry. "Sorry, sir. I said yes, sir." He walked around me, swishing the welding rod. "Yes, this should teach you a lesson you'll never forget. Have you ever heard of caning?" "No, sir. I have not." He let go a wicked laugh. "Caning is what they do to criminals in Asia. I've heard they never forget the experience and they never repeat the crime. They take a small rod like this and whip the criminal with it. Each stroke breaks open the skin." I shuddered a little bit. He saw me and laughed. Normally it's done on your butt, but I think I'll use your back. Just imagine what this welding rod is going to feel like on your back as it rips your skin open. Hardbin took over. Sir, it will be an excellent way to remind me to never hit women, especially little girls. He stopped swishing the welding rod and looked at me. I changed the routine and it surprised him. Well, maybe you are finally getting some sense in your hard head, he said. I heard the welding rod swish through the air and connect with my back. Hardbin was in control and I didn't feel any pain. That's one, he cackled. Thank you, sir. May I have another? I said, also changing the routine. I'd never asked Dad to beat me more. He stopped again, surprised. Damn, maybe I'll make a man out of you yet. The rod swished through the air again and hit my back. That's two. He continued. Thank you, sir. May I have another? I repeated. He kept it up and Hardbin kept asking for more until we reached 10. That's 10, Dad said. I tried to ask for one more, but instead the room slowly became dark and I drifted off into unconsciousness. Flashback, Jack. Late 1999, Jack's house after the dinner. It was getting late and I was thirsty. Anna had given me a great workout and I was going to get some water for both of us. I walked in the kitchen and Ben was still standing at the kitchen sink. He looked like a statue. Ben, hey Ben, wake up, I shouted. He turned and looked at me. His eyes were vacant at first and then returned to normal. Oh, hi Jack, I guess I was daydreaming. I noticed he was holding a broken plate in his hands and his left hand was bleeding. Ben, what happened to you? Your hand is bleeding. He looked down at his hand. Sorry, Jack, I don't know what happened. I went over and looked at his hand, but it wasn't bad. Come on, let's fix it up for you. Anna came out of the bedroom in a robe. What's taking so long? Ben was still doing dishes, broke a plate, and cut his hand. She looked at me, and I gave her the look to not ask any questions. Ben set the plate on the table, and we walked into the bathroom. The cut wasn't bad, so Anna cleaned it up for him and put on a dressing. You're lucky it's not your right hand, Anna said. Otherwise it might mess up your shooting. Ben still seemed in a daze. Thank you, Anna, for taking such good care of me. I'll go back and finish the dishes. He walked out of the bathroom and Anna looked at me. What the hell? I shushed her. Later, when we were in the bedroom, we walked into the kitchen. Ben had finished the dishes. Well, I'm tired and I'm going to sleep, Ben said and went to this room. We got a drink of water and went back to our bedroom. Okay, Jack, what was that all about? Anna, I'm not sure, but I have a good feeling about this. I think our boy grew up a little tonight. She spooned me and slowly drifted off to sleep. I thought about what I'd just seen with Ben. He's sure a strange kid. Strange but good. Flashback, Ben. Late 1999, Jack's house after finishing the dishes. I was in bed, but I couldn't get to sleep right away. It was embarrassing that Jack and Anna found me in that condition. Wow, I hadn't remembered that beating for a very long time. I guess Anna's little show and talk opened up the floodgate of my memories. I looked at my bandaged hand and realized I had snapped the plate in two. That particular beating was a real turning point in my life, since it was the reason I couldn't hit a woman. I reached around and touched the scars on my back and remembered each one with a shudder. The son of a bitch really taught me a lesson. Anna's little talk made sense to me, but it was hard not to freeze when I was confronted by a woman. Jack shocked me when he told me about having to kill 2 women. At first I didn't know what to think, but then I realized he was right and someday I might have to do the same. I felt the food start to rise in my throat and took control over it, suppressing the urge to vomit. I rolled over on my side, curled up, and went asleep thinking about tomorrow's mission. Friday, December 7th. Present, Ben, Hospital, Ramstein, AFB, Germany. I only sleep for about an hour because Jens is lying on my left arm and now it's asleep. I almost laugh, all the pain in my right arm, and it's my left arm that wakes me. I look down at Jens and realize there's a wedge between us. In fact, 2 wedges named Zarika and Yasmin. I've been blocking her, but I really miss the closeness we share. It's my fault it's gone, and I'm going to fix it. I start to gently wiggle Jens. Hey, my love, wake up. It's so nice to wake up next to you again. Jens says and looks up at me. Why did you wake me? Is the nurse almost here? Suddenly she realizes. Ben, you're back. You're finally back with me. She hugs me tight and starts crying. I can feel almost everything again, she says through her sobs. I hug her tightly and let her cry as she slowly quiets down. Jens, we need to talk. I need to tell you something. What? That you love me? She grins at me. I already know that. She looks closer at me and realizes it's something else. She sits up in the bed, and I flex my left arm to get the feeling back into it. I feel the pins and needles as the blood rushes back in. Ben, what's this about the girls I'm sensing? I gaze deeply into those violet eyes of hers. I guess I need to explain a few things. If you hate me when I'm done, I'll understand. Ben, I don't know what the hell this is, but you're scaring me. I see some tears in the corner of her eyes. Yince, I love you, and I've been totally faithful to you. Do you still have the picture of the girls? She pulls it out of her purse, hands it to me, and gives me a dirty look. Ben, you need to tell me all about these girls. I point to the picture. Yince, let me tell you the story about two of the most incredible young women I've ever met. This girl's name is Zarika. She is responsible for helping me escape. If it wasn't for her, I would have died. She looks at me but isn't happy, then I owe her. And this young lady is Yasmin. I meet her while Zarika and I were trying to get to Tajikistan. She was a big help in getting us both out of Afghanistan. Ben, you're not telling me everything, Yince says as she starts to get angry. Yince, let me explain, but it's going to take some time, and you have to be patient and trust me. Present, Yince, Hospital, Ramstein, AFB, Germany. I really miss the closeness of sensing Ben's feelings. I know we haven't been together very long, but I've become addicted to the closeness of sharing one mind with him. Now since it's gone, I don't feel complete. I know what Ben felt like before we became a couple, and I don't like it. We slept together last night for the first time since he came back, but he's not really back. Part of his heart and mind is still in Afghanistan. He wakes me early in the morning again, and I realize he's back. And I can sense all his feelings again. Everything that's happened since he was captured comes rushing into my mind. It feels like trying to watch a movie set on fast forward. The emotions are overwhelming. Oh my God, the torture he endured. I knew some of it, but not all, and what I sense almost makes me throw up. The mental and physical anguish he went through. I'm damn pissed at his captors, and I want to go and seriously kick butt. Ben's angrier about his captors than I am, and is already planning revenge. The thought of revenge permeates his mind. I've never known him to be this angry about anything. I want to tell him I'm ready. Let's go kick some Taliban butt. Then things get complicated about the two girls. He starts telling me about them as we look at the picture. I can sense Ben's been faithful to me in spite of those two little conniving bitches. I can tell from their actions, they really think Ben will marry them. He feels they are his little sisters, but he did seem to enjoy the kisses from them too much. Ben, I can sense almost all your feelings again, except for the one area I've never been able to see. You need to tell me everything about those two little girls. Ben was looking desperate, Yince. I'm trying if you will just let me continue. I was getting more pissed all the time. You'd better start trying harder. Because what I'm sensing is they feel you're their husband. Yince, I've never told them that. I always told them they're my little sisters. Didn't you pretend Zarika was your wife? I counter. He turns and looks away. Yes, I did. But I made sure to tell her she wasn't my wife and never would be. And it was only when we first met Yasmin's parents. That's another thing. Didn't you agree to take Yasmin as your wife? I was highly pissed off now. Ben gives me a pleading look. Yince, it's not like that at all. I always told her she was just my little sister. Ben, what about the kisses? I know you didn't kiss them, but when they kissed you, you enjoyed it. You enjoyed it too much. I start crying. Ben tries to move and hug me, but I'm too upset, so I jump off the bed. If he was well, I'd kick his butt. Ben, I need to go think about all this. I grab my things and head out of the room. Yince, don't leave. I wasn't unfaithful to you. Ben shouts as I walk out the door. Flashback Natasha, Yince, Kabul, Afghanistan, Monday, October 15th. I was so glad when we landed in Kabul. We were lucky to even escape from the airbase. I was more tired than I realized, and I slept through part of the flight. With the surgery, I still wasn't back to normal. The whole time I slept, my sleep was haunted by images of Ben being tortured. Liz took us into the airport bathroom with all our gear, opened up bag, handed me some clothes, took some for herself and said, Natasha, put this on. I went in a nasty stall and looked at the burqa she gave me. I yelled over the stall, Liz, you're crazy if you think I'm wearing this. It's cruel and unusual punishment for women to wear these. Yince, shut up and put it on. It's a great disguise and no one will bother us. Liz, Yince, don't give me any crap, just do it. I didn't like it, but I put it on. Shit, it was hot, uncomfortable, and scratchy. I came out of the stall and Liz was already done. She walked over and made a few adjustments. There, now you look like a proper Muslim wife, she teased. I flipped her off and Liz looked around quickly. Yince, don't ever do that again when you're in a burqa. If someone saw us and reported us, we'd be stoned. I don't think it'd be any worse than wearing this crap. I complained. You think it's bad in here? Wait until we're outside in the sun. You're going to roast. Okay, give me your other clothes. I looked at her through the slit for my eyes. I have them on underneath this piece of shit bag I'm wearing. Okay, go back in the stall and slip out of those clothes and hand them to me. Otherwise you'll be too hot. she ordered. I went back in the stall and slipped out of my clothes. I whispered to Liz, "Do I leave my underwear on?" She laughed. "Yes, leave your underwear on." I walked out and handed her my clothes. She put them in a bag, rummaged around in another bag and double-checked to make sure we were the only ones in the bathroom. She pulled out a pistol with a belt and holster and handed it to me. "Put this on under your burqa." I went back in the frickin' stall and complained. "Okay, Liz, I'm tired of playing musical stalls. Is there anything else I need to do while I'm in here? You did take care of your bodily needs, didn't you?" "Shit," I said. "That's what I'm asking you, Natasha. Did you?" Liz laughed. I moved the Muslim torture dress out of my way and took care of business. "Damn, there's no paper," I complained. Liz waved a roll over the top of the stall. I grabbed it. "Natasha, don't tell me you're always this helpless." No one could see me, so I flipped her off. Twice, in fact. I messed with the burqa, but it didn't feel right to me. I walked out of the stall, and Liz came over and adjusted it again. "This is how a burqa is supposed to fit," she told me. I leaned close to her and whispered, "No wonder Muslim men don't get any. Their wives are too pissed from having to wear this shit. I'm already sweating up a storm and starting to stink." Liz leaned closer. "Good, now you'll smell like you belong here." "Natasha, you know what the difference is between a catfish and a woman in a burqa?" "No, Liz." "What?" She looked around, confirming we were still alone. "One has whiskers and smells like a fish, and the other one is a fish." We both started laughing until another woman came in. Then we grabbed our bags and left. As we walked out the door, Bernie was waiting for us. "Yints, walk behind me and do what I do." I followed her and acted just like her. We walked out of the airport and caught a taxi. Bernie said something to the taxi driver, and we took off. I could tell we weren't headed to one of the better parts of Kabul. Suddenly, I was very happy I was in a burqa. Present, Liz, Friday, December 7th, Dushanbe, Tajikistan. I flip on my phone as soon as we land, and see I have 5 missed calls from Yints. I call her phone and she picks up right away. "Liz, thank God it's you." She starts crying. At first I worry Ben died. "Yints, what the hell is wrong? Did Ben die? That son of a bitch isn't dead yet, but if he wasn't so sick, I'd kill him." She cries into the phone. "I'm pretty sure what happened, but I want to give Yints a chance to vent, so I pretend to be angry at Ben. Okay, sister, I don't know what the hell he did to you, but I'm coming right back to kick the shit out of him." No one makes my sister cry. "Oh, Liz, I don't know how to tell you. It's about the 2 little girls." She continues crying. "Don't tell me the scumsucker slept with them. I'm going to castrate him if he did." I keep pretending. "No, Liz, he didn't sleep with them." Yints continues and sniffles. I decide to get some information from her. What did the prick do? Did he marry them? I hold my breath waiting for the answer. "No, Liz, he didn't marry them." I almost sigh in relief. "Yints, then what the hell did he do that has you so upset at him?" She went on to tell me how she can sense all his feelings again. She describes how he called them his little sisters, pretended he was married to them, and how they both helped rescue him. She tells me how they kissed him and that he enjoyed it too much. Most important, she felt the girls thought he was going to marry them. She finally tells me how he promised them he'd bring them to America. I don't say anything for a minute because I'm afraid I'll laugh. "Liz, are you there?" Yints finally asks. "I'm here, Yints." "So, you're telling me you're upset at Ben because he adopted 2 sisters? I hear Yints breathing and I wait for an answer. "Liz, it's more than that." She tries to explain. "Oh, really, sister? How the hell do you figure?" I ask in my most sarcastic tone. "Liz, I interrupt her saying, "He came back to you, Yints, that's what he did. He fought through hell and back to come back to you. We don't know how many shitheads he killed getting to you, but we know he's one of the few to ever escape. So he picked up a couple of strays on his way back to you. He didn't screw them, and I'm sure he could have. Shit, he didn't even kiss them. They kissed him. Yints, he was totally faithful to you. So get your head out of your, but unless you want to lose him to those 2 girls. I don't wait for an answer and I hung up the phone. Damn. Sometimes she acts just like a kid. I'm glad I'm around to whip her, but when she needs it. At least I know he says he didn't marry them, but I sure hope they didn't trick him into it. Now I just have to find the 2 of them. I'm glad Yints isn't with me because as pissed as she is, she'd probably kill both of them. The phone rings again. It's Yints. "Liz, did you hang up on me?" "Hell yes I did, and I'm going to do it again. I won't talk to you when you're acting like daddy's spoiled little brat. I'm not going to be part of you trying to crucify Ben for something silly and something he didn't even do. Get your head out of your butt and go give Ben the loving he deserves. If you don't, you'll lose him." I hang up the phone. Shit. If she screws up too bad with Ben, I might even have to pick up the pieces. Nah, I couldn't do that to Yints, but it is tempting. The phone rings again, and yes, it's Yints again. I answer the call and hear Yints give me a raspberry, then she hangs up. The phone rings and I get ready to just push ignore, but this time I don't recognize the number. I answer it. This is Liz. It's my time, your dime. Liz, it's Ben. I feel so much pain in his voice, I almost drop the phone. I decide to be upbeat and try to cheer him up. Ben, hey, it's great to hear from you. How are you feeling? There's a pause on the end of the line and he says, Liz, I feel like hell. Jens has left me. My sister is being such an a-hole. She's the one that needs her but kicked. Ben, I don't think she'd ever leave you. It must be a misunderstanding. Tell me what happened. As Ben tells me the story from his point of view, I start getting even more pissed at Jens. She's way overreacted to everything. Sometimes she is such a drama queen. Ben, I think you need to give her some time and space. She's not thinking right now, and she's reacting with her emotions. Once she starts thinking logically, she'll realize how much of an a-hole she's been, and then she'll come running back. The line was quiet for a while. Liz, I love you like a sister, but don't ever call Jens an a-hole again or I'll kick your butt. This is entirely my fault. Oh boy, now Ben's getting all fouled up. Listen here, mister. Who the hell do you think you are telling me what I can and cannot call Jens? If she's acting like an a-hole, then I'm going to call her an a-hole. Just like I'm going to call you an a-hole too. This is not your fault, a-hole. You both need to get your heads out of your butts. I hang up the phone in disgust. It rings again, and it's Jens. I pick it up and another call comes in and it's Ben. So I conference them. Jens, you're an a-hole, and Ben, you're an a-hole. I yell. They both start talking at the same time and finally realize they're talking to each other. Jens, is it really you? Ben asks. Well, it sure as hell isn't one of your other two girlfriends. I bet they're too young to know how to dial a phone. She snaps back at him. Jens, stop being an a-hole. I yell on the phone. The people around me turn and look, so I smile and shrug my shoulders. Liz, damn it. I told you not to call her an a-hole. Ben says with anger. Ben, I don't need you to save me. I can take care of her by myself. Jens adds. Ben, you're right. She's not acting like an a-hole, and I apologize to both of you. She's really acting just like Evelyn. I explain in a calm voice. Liz, screw you. I'm not acting like my mother. I laugh in the phone. What's wrong, sister? Did it hit a little too close to home? I hear her start sniffling into her phone. Jens, I need to talk to you in person and tell you how much I love you. Since you won't come to me, I'm going to come and find you. Ben says, and his line goes dead. Jens, he's going to hurt himself if he gets up. You'd better go and stop him. I tell her. She gives me a raspberry and hangs up her phone. I stare at my phone thinking what a foobar mess this is. I'm tempted to throw the damn phone in the trash, but decide not to and walk off towards the street to find a taxi. 10 minutes later, I slap myself on the forehead for being so stupid. I'd better call the hospital and let them know Ben is going to escape. I find the number of the nurses station in the ICU and call. 3rd floor ICU, unit clerk speaking. There's a bunch of noise in the background. It sounds like all hell is breaking loose. Hi, this is Elizabeth Morgan from the Truth Network. I have information that SM Blaine might try to escape. Ms. Morgan, I wish you had called 5 minutes ago. He just ripped out all his tubes and broke out of the ICU. We didn't even think he could walk, but he beat up an MP and 2 orderlies getting out of here. Shit. I was too late. I'm sort of his adopted sister. Would you please call me when they find him? I give her my phone number, hang up the phone and slump down into a chair. I hold my head in my hands and start crying. The 2 people I love the most, maybe the only 2 people I have ever loved, are hurting each other and I can't fix it. Flashback. Liz, Kabul, Afghanistan, Monday, October 15th. Bernie was going to meet us in Kabul with information, something he couldn't trust to email or the phones. He knew the routine and was waiting for us outside the ladies' room in the airport. We came out in our burqas, followed him out of the airport and got into a cab, just like good little Muslim wives. I recognized the address of the area we were going, and it wasn't a good part of town. Jens was squirming and messing with her burqa too much, so I pinched the hell out of her until she stopped. The driver made a comment to Bernie about him breaking a new wife into wearing a burqa and then laughed. Bernie laughed and told him how important it was for women to be taught their place. I wanted to kick both their butts, but I pretended to be the good little Muslim wife. We finally arrived at a dilapidated building, and the driver stopped the cab. I held on to Jens' arm so she wouldn't jump right out. Bernie got out first, grabbed all the gear, and then ordered us out of the cab. We followed Bernie into the building. He turned and locked the door. I walked over to him. I should kick your butt? He laughed, just like a good little Muslim wife. You obey me outside the home, but you rule me inside the home. I flipped him off. Bet your good little Muslim wife never did that to you, and laughed. Can I get the hell out of this death dress? Jens complained. Sure, There's a bathroom down the hall where you can change, Bernie laughed. Here's some BDUs for both of you. I grabbed them, and we took off. Hey, these are army BDUs, Yince remarked. Bernie shouted, beggars can't be choosers. If you don't like them, you can always stay in your burqa. It makes both of you look so sexy. He laughed and Yince flipped him off as we went to the bathroom. Yince threw off the burqa and she really did stink. I handed her a couple wet wipes. Thanks, Liz. Sorry, but I really need those. No problem, sister, and I agree you do really need those. She bit her lip. I think I'm so stinky because I'm still getting the anesthesia out of my system. It's too bad we can't take a shower. For a second, I had a vision of us showering together and pushed it quickly out of my mind. Yeah, that would be nice. I was changed and said, let me go ask Bernie if there's a shower. I quickly left the bathroom to get away from her and my emotions. I went down the hall and asked Bernie. Yince was wondering if we have a shower here? No shower and no hot water. The best you can hope for is a 304 bath. He teased me and laughed. Yince walked in as I turned red. What's going on, Liz? Nothing, Yince. We don't have a shower or hot water. You'll have to just either use wet wipes or a washcloth. Okay, no problem, I do those all the time out in the field. Yince smiled and said, even though these are army BDUs, I still feel much better being out of that medieval torture device. I wanted to tell her to stop acting spoiled, but knew it would cause a fight. Okay, Bernie, what do you have for us? He went through everything and Yince said, that sure isn't much. I was hoping we'd have more by now. Normally we would, but the whole area is in an uproar over Bin killing those two high-ranking Taliban. They aren't letting anyone into or out of the area. Bernie answered. Yince went over and pulled out her laptop. Do we have an internet connection here? Just through this, Bernie answered and held up a sat phone. She took the phone, hooked it up to the computer, played around with some settings, and said, now we have free internet. I looked at Bernie and motioned him to the side. She's going to be busy for a while. Let's make something to eat. Flashback, Zarika, Tajikistan, day 18. I was a pest and kept asking Oleg the time since he was the only one with a watch. He finally got tired of it and handed the watch to me. I looked as the second hand moved across the face, and it seemed to move in slow motion. I can't wait to get out of the cab and take care of Bin. Yasmin is such a baby. She complained about the way the men smell. They don't smell half as bad as Hussein's men. I started shaking remembering what they used to do to me and how brave Bin saved me. Zarika, are you okay? Oleg asked. I looked at him. I am fine. I was just remembering some bad things. He looked at the floor. It was about those terrible men that took you? We were shocked when you came back. Everyone thought you were dead. I shivered again and punched him in the arm. I do not want to talk about it. The 2 hours were finally up and I crawled to the back of the truck. Yasmin was curled up next to Bin and was sleeping. I wanted to pull her hair and beat her up, but I know Bin would make both of us right up front. Yasmin, it is time for you to go up front, I said and gently shook her. She woke up, stretched and yawned. Thank you, Zarika. I have been taking good care of Bin. I have kept cold washcloths on his head and have been giving him lots of kisses. I wanted to punch her smart little mouth for kissing Bin. I'm sure Bin tolerated all your kisses. She gave me a dirty look and said, we need to wake up Sasha. Go on up front and I will wake him. Yasmin crawled up front. The minute she left, I wiped Bin's mouth to get rid of her slobbers and gave him a big kiss of my own. He started coughing and woke up. Flashback, Bin, Tajikistan, day 18. I felt like I couldn't breathe and it woke me. I opened my eyes and saw Zarika smiling mischievously at me. Bin, it is good to see you are awake. Let me wake up Sasha. She leaned over and shook the hell out of Sasha. It's been 2 hours and Bin is awake. He sat up and looked at me. How do you feel? I feel like shit, and all of a sudden when I was sleeping it was like I couldn't breathe and it woke me up. Sasha looked concerned. Let me check your lungs. He put on a stethoscope. Bin, take a deep breath. I took a breath and coughed. He moved the stethoscope. Take another deep breath. I did what he told me, but this time I didn't cough. He looked puzzled. Bin, your lungs are fine. I don't know why you felt like you couldn't breathe. Let's take your temperature. He put the thermometer in my mouth and took my pulse. He read the thermometer and said, you are doing fine. But I could tell from the concern on his face he was lying. Drink more water. Zarika put the glass up to my lips and I drank a little bit, but it upset my stomach. Bin, drink more water. Zarika told me. I can't or I will get sick. Where are we? Zarika called up front and they answered her. Good news, Bin. Tomorrow we will be in Dushanbe. She put a wet cloth on my head and it felt really good. Bin, I'm going to redress your wound. Would you like some morphine first? Sasha asked. I looked at my arm the best I could. I was sick of the constant pain but knew from my past I could handle it. I silently cursed the fact I didn't die an honorable soldier's death. No, Sasha, no morphine. He looked at me. Are you sure? Hell yes, I'm sure. No morphine. He started undressing the wound and I said, wait, Zarika, give me a piece of wood to bite on. She put a piece of wood between my teeth and Sasha continued. The dressing had stuck to the wound, and he had to pull it off, taking some dead skin with it. The pain became intense. I saw stars and dots in front of my eyes. I started trying to move. Zarika, hold him still. Sasha commanded. Zarika fell on top of me and held me down. Just as I slipped into unconsciousness, I saw my dad's face where he was burning in hell. Be seeing you soon in hell with me, you worthless shithead, echoed in my ears. I swung my good arm and hit the SOB in the face, and then wrestled with him as we both were consumed by the flames. Flashback, Yasmin, Tajikistan, day 18. I was sitting in the front, trying to keep the other men from touching my legs with theirs, and also trying to ignore their terrible smell. One of them kept spoiling the air, and it was worse than ever. They were animals. It was so bad, I felt like I was going to be sick. Then I heard a bunch of noise from the back of the truck and had an excuse to leave. I am going to see what is happening, and crawled into the back of the truck before they could stop me. Zarika was lying on top of Ben, and Sasha was lying beside Ben. I saw a lot of blood. Zarika, what did you do to Ben? Why is there so much blood? She looked at me, and I thought she was going to start hitting me again. Yasmin, help Sasha. I think Ben broke his nose. I watched as Ben struggled to get up. I think you need some help, Zarika. Let me help hold him down. Yasmin, I have Ben. Please help Sasha. I pouted a little. Zarika was getting to have all the fun with Ben and went over to Sasha. Are you okay? I asked. He made some funny noises and I couldn't understand him. Then I figured out he was just waking up. I shook his shoulders. Wake up, Sasha. Oh, my nose, he said and grabbed his nose. Sasha, what can I do for you? He held his nose and looked around. Get me some rags, he said. I handed him some rags and watched as he tore them into little strips and started stuffing them up his nose. It was making me sick, so I turned away and started touching Ben's head. The minute I touched Ben, he stopped fighting. Zarika looked at me and grinned. I thought about saying something, but I knew it would cause a fight. Yasmin, Zarika whispered, go help Sasha. I went back over and Sasha was done messing with the rag in his nose. I laughed when I looked at his nose. Sasha, your nose is crooked. He felt it. Do you have a mirror? I took the small mirror I had hidden in my pocket. I used it to make sure I was always pretty for Ben and handed it to him. He looked in the mirror and then handed it back to me. I started looking at myself, making sure I looked more beautiful than Zarika. Yasmin, stop looking at yourself and hold the mirror for me, Sasha scolded me. He grabbed my hand and moved the mirror in front of his face. I moved my hand a little, and he roughly grabbed it. Keep the mirror here and do not move your hand. I thought about hitting him, but decided it would not be wise. He looked in the mirror, reached up, grabbed his nose and pulled it down and around. I heard a pop and he started swearing. I moved the mirror to cover my ears and he grabbed my hand again. Do not move the mirror or I will hit you, Sasha threatened. I started crying and shaking. Zarika, come help me with the mirror, Sasha said. Zarika came over and took my mirror. I thought about snatching it back, but remembered what Ben said would happen if we fought. She held the mirror and Sasha messed with his nose some more. His nose made some more noises and he swore even more. Finally, it was straight. We need to tape my nose so it doesn't move. Zarika, please get some tape for me. I took my mirror back and wiped it clean because I don't know what sort of nasty things Zarika had gotten on it. Then I looked at myself in the mirror and decided I was the youngest and most beautiful wife Ben would ever have. I moved over to where Zarika had been, lay down right next to Ben and watched Zarika help Sasha. They were done and Sasha asked for the mirror again, so I reluctantly handed it to him. He looked at his nose some more, messed with it just a little more and handed the mirror back to me. I hid it from Zarika again. Sasha looked at us and said, girls, I hate to do this, but I think we need to tie Ben's arms and legs so he doesn't hurt anyone else. Do you have any rope? Zarika looked at me. Yasmin, since you're back here during my time to take care of Ben, you can get the rope for Sasha. I really wanted to flip her off, but I knew she would hit me again and we'd both end up sitting in front. So I slowly crawled away from Ben and found the rope for Sasha. I watched as he tied Ben's arms and legs to the board underneath him. It made me sad to think Ben was tied up like an animal, but I thought about all the fun I could have with him when it was my turn to take care of him and smiled. Zarika looked at me. Yasmin, it's time for you to go back up front. I crawled back up front and it smelled worse than ever. Flashback, Ben, late 1999 in flight, traveling to base in Indian Ocean. I was shocked because this time we weren't flying on a C-130 or a military jet. We were flying on an Evergreen Air jet, and I felt like I was sitting in the lap of luxury. We were in the last row of the plane, Jack's favorite seats. He went into this long explanation of why he sat here, but I was distracted, too distracted to listen. We were the only two on the plane, and the cute little stewardess kept asking me if I wanted anything, and made sure I knew everything was on the menu. I was watching the provocative sway of her hips as she walked towards the front of the plane. Jack elbowed me in the side. Ben, are you going to hit that? I looked at Jack and blushed. Jack, I don't know. I just got out of a crappy relationship with Susan. I'm not sure I want to jump into anything else. Are you telling me you don't want to jump into the middle of that? If so, I'd better not shower around you. He teased. I looked at him. It's a good thing we're friends, or I'd deck you for that comment. Of course, I'd like to join the Mile High Club with her. So what's holding you back? He questioned. I don't want it to affect my performance on this mission. He laughed. Ben, that's the lamest excuse I've ever heard. If anything, it would help by calming you down. Let me give you some advice. If you're not in an exclusive relationship, never ever turn down a chance to get laid. But what if she's ugly? He chuckled. Ben, those are the best because they try harder. Many beautiful women think they're doing you a favor by letting you bed them. An average or ugly girl thinks you're doing her a favor. Jack, I didn't bring any protection with me. Ben, didn't I teach you to always be prepared for everything? He stood up, grabbed his travel pack, opened it up and pulled out a bag and handed it to me. Okay, now you don't have any excuses left. Jack, don't tell me you would cheat on Anna? I indignantly asked. He laughed. Hell no, we're exclusive. She'd kill me if I ever cheated on her. Go ahead and open the bag. I opened the bag and found a note from Anna. Ben, I bought these hoping you'll find some cutie to use them on. Go get her tiger. Zoxo Anna. Jack started laughing. If you could see the look on your face, it's priceless. I think I'll head up front and get some shut-eye. Oh, a couple more things. Remember, real men finish last, and if it's been a while, you might want to double bag the first time. I looked at him. Double bag? What the heck is that? He laughed. You sure are green. Double bag means use 2 condoms. You normally do it if it's a real 3-0 for your betting. In this case, she's not a 304, and it will keep you from going off half-cocked. He went up front and reclined one of the seats. The stewardess came back. Hey, why don't you take the window seat and let me sit beside you? I moved over by the window, and she sat beside me. The first thing she did was raise the armrest and snuggle up close against me. She said in a sexy southern drawl, my name is Linda Sue, and I'm so happy the old man moved up front. So am I in my name. I never finished the sentence because she put a huge lip lock on me. When we pulled away to breathe again, she drawled, you are green, but you're as cute as a June bug and a hell of a kisser. Don't you ever tell anyone on these flights your name because it puts you and the person you tell in danger. Even in those black BDUs, I can tell you're a Marine, and whatever you're doing is damn important, otherwise you'd be flying a cargo plane. That's all I need to know. Now you just wait right here. I'm gonna go and make sure we're not bothered. She walked up front swaying the whole way and had my total attention. She stopped, turned, made sure I was watching, then blew me a kiss as she went into the cabin. A few minutes later she came back and drawled, well, handsome, looks like we have some time to kill. Any ideas what we might do? She started slipping out of her uniform and reclined both seats so they were just like a bed. She grabbed a blanket and crawled in beside me. I had some ideas and Linda Sue had some ideas, and we both had an excellent flight. Flashback, Jack, late 1999 in flight, traveling to base in Indian Ocean. It was all I could do to keep from laughing myself to death. Ben had found himself a real go-getter on this flight. That little flight attendant wanted to have some fun, and the fun's name was Ben. He tried to make some silly excuses, even saying he didn't have protection. But Anna had given me a box of condoms for him. I wished I could have taken a picture of his face when I gave him the box and he read the note. It was utter astonishment. He was so green. I made sure to explain a couple things to him as I excused myself and went up front asleep. But I couldn't catch a wink. From the way things sounded, he'd listened to my advice. I wasn't worried because we could sleep on the sub. I was just trying to pretend I was asleep so I wouldn't embarrass them. After about 3 hours they settled down and I think Ben fell asleep because the flight attendant came past me and said, thanks for moving and thanks for pretending to be asleep. I watched her walk the rest of the way to the front of the plane and decided Ben had gotten very lucky and the kid deserved it. Flashback Ben, 8 years old the next day. Someone gently shook me awake. When I opened my eyes, I noticed I was in my bed and saw it was Mom. Ben, you need to get up and do your PT before he comes in here. I looked at her and wondered how she could be so nice and Dad could be so mean, but I didn't have the courage to ask. As I started moving, my back felt really bad and it was very hard to move. The pain brought back the memories of last night's beating. I remembered passing out, but I had no memories of getting into my bed. I grimaced in pain and moaned. Ben, I'm sorry. I tried to stop him last night, but he wouldn't listen to me. After he taught you the lesson, he drank until he passed out. I brought you to bed and did what I could for your back. But it's going to hurt for a very long time. And you can't go to school, not until your back gets better. The pain helped me slip back into hard Ben because he was the only one who could handle this. When I moved, the pain was still there, but it didn't bother me anymore. I smiled at Mom. Don't worry, Mom. I'll be fine. At least he didn't hit you. I got into my clothes, went outside, and did the PT Dad forced me to do each and every morning. I was shocked and relieved when he didn't show up to make sure I did everything correctly. I couldn't remember a time when he wasn't there to ride my butt. I just finished my chin-ups when he staggered out of the barn, looking like a mess. His eyes were bloodshot, and he smelled of vomit and pee. Can't you say good morning to your loving dad? He laughed. His breath was so bad I almost threw up. I looked at him. Good morning, sir. He watched me drop off the chin-up bar. I guess I overslept today. It looks like you're finished. Yes, sir, I am. He looked at his watch. You sure you did everything like you were supposed to? Yes, sir. I even did more push-ups and chin-ups than normal. He looked at me like he didn't believe me, and I thought for a moment he was going to start beating me again. Then a squirrel ran across the front yard and distracted him. He looked back at me and grinned. Damn, I could go for some fresh squirrel tonight for dinner. Go and get your pistol and Grandpa's old Mauser, then come back here. You're going hunting. Yes, sir, I said, and excitedly ran into the house. I always looked for any excuse to get out of the house, and today I was going to have my favorite excuse, hunting. I started hunting with Grandpa and Dad about the time I started walking. Grandpa was great, and we went hunting all the time. Many times we didn't kill the animals, but we just saw how close we could get to them without scaring them. Hunting with Dad was great too, since it was the only time he was nice to me. But I could tell today I'd be going by myself because Dad was in too bad a shape from last night. I ran down the basement steps, went over and strapped on my holster and belt. I checked the cylinder on my Colt Frontier Scout, and it had 5.22 LR cartridges in it. I made sure to put the empty chamber back under the hammer. I took my knife out of its sheath and made sure it was sharp by shaving some hair off my arm. Then I felt for the throwing knife I'd made from a piece of steel. It was still hidden in my belt. I went to the gun rack and pulled down the single-shot .22 LR Mauser Grandpa brought back from World War II and gave to me. I kept it pointed in a safe direction and made sure the chamber was clear. I looked at the silver plate attached to the side of the stock and wondered who Otto Brugger was and why I had his gun. I was so excited I forgot about my back, until I slung the rifle over it and was painfully reminded. I dashed up the stairs and into the yard. Dad pulled a box of ammo out of his pocket and looked at me. You know, normally I'd give you the whole damn box and tell you to have fun. But you were such a worthless little shithead yesterday and made me waste 2 rounds, so I'm not going to do that. He opened the box and handed me 3 rounds. Let me see your revolver. I took the revolver out of the holster, put it on half-cock, opened the feed gate, and handed it grip first to him. He slowly spun the cylinder and counted the 5 rounds. Well, at least you've got some sense in your worthless head. Now you've got 5 rounds in the revolver, and I expect you to come back with all 5 rounds. Unless you get attacked by a puma, but then you'd better come back with the revolver empty and dragging the puma. Do you understand? He was carelessly waving the revolver around in a manner which would have earned me a beating. Yes, sir. He handed the revolver back to me, and I noticed he didn't put the empty chamber under the hammer, and I made a mental note to do it as soon as possible. Now where was I? He scratched his head. Sir, you gave me 3 rounds of ammo for the rifle, and check my pistol. I have 5 rounds in it. Oh yeah, now I remember, he laughed. I'm going to eat at least 2 squirrels myself. Your mama is going to want a squirrel. That's 3 squirrels and 3 rounds. If you want to eat tonight, you'd better figure out a way to kill at least 4 squirrels with 3 bullets. Now get a bag from your mama to bring those squirrels back with. Make sure you clean them well, and you'd better only make head shots on them. I don't want you blowing away half of the squirrel this time. Yes, sir. I ran back in the house and Mom handed me Grandpa's Possibles 1 bag. Ben, don't let you father look in the bag since I put a sandwich in it for you. I hugged the bag. It still smelled like a combination of Grandpa and tobacco. Thanks, Mom. I smiled at her and headed back out in the yard and took off for an enjoyable day in the woods. Remember, worthless shithead, I expect at least 4 squirrels, or else, Dad yelled. Or else, I thought, I won't come back home. I topped the hill, stopped, and put the revolver's hammer on the empty chamber. Dad thought he was giving me a big problem when he only gave me 3 rounds. But I knew it wasn't going to be a problem at all since I'd been secretly hiding some of the ammo he gave me for close to a year and had a large supply cached in many different places. I had grand plans of taking my revolver and the Mauser and running away from home someday, living off the land, just like the Indians did. My first cache was close, so I grabbed another 5 rounds. There wasn't any need to be greedy. 4 or 5 squirrels by dinner would be no problem, so I took my time and relaxed, enjoying being out of school and in the woods on this nice fall day. The sunlight streamed through the golden aspen leaves, and a gentle breeze murmured through the pines. It was time to get back in touch with the land, so I stopped, took off my boots and socks, tied the laces together and threw them over my shoulder. That was a mistake, because the one boot whacked my back and sent waves of pain through my body, causing me to fall to my knees. A squirrel's angry bark snapped me out of my pain. I looked at him and said, "It's your lucky day, Mr. Squirrel, because it's too early." Just for practice, I pulled the Mauser around and took aim at the rude squirrel through the J.C. Higgins 4-power scope. I concentrated, remembered everything Grandpa and Dad taught me about shooting, and pretended to pull the trigger. "Yes, Mr. Squirrel, today is your lucky day." I laughed and walked on. Without my boots, I was silent in the woods and practiced sneaking up on unsuspecting animals. Squirrels were easy because they were stupid. All you had to do was wait until they weren't looking and then move. I liked to get about 10 feet away from them and yell because it was funny to watch them panic and run away. Rabbits were even easier because they thought if they stayed still you wouldn't see them. It was too bad Dad didn't want rabbit, because they let me get close enough I could have killed them with my throwing knife. Instead, I just threw rocks at them and laughed as they scampered away. I looked down and noticed some fresh deer poop and the big tracks of a buck deer. I'd never tried to sneak up on a deer, so this would be a new challenge. I slipped slowly from tree to tree, watching the tracks and scanning the woods ahead of me. I froze beside a tree when I noticed some movement and patiently waited until this huge buck walked out into the clearing. He had a massive set of antlers with 8 points. I was downwind of him and knew I had the advantage. Just be patient and still until he turned. A deer fly buzzed around my head, landed on my shoulder, and bit me. It hurt like a son of a gun, but I didn't move because I was a statue. The buck finally turned, and I slowly slipped closer until I could see the flies bothering him. I must have made a little noise because he turned and looked at me, wiggling his huge ears trying to hear me. He looked funny, and I had to hold my breath to keep from laughing. He looked right at me but didn't see me. Then he lowered his head and started eating again. I'd never been this close to a live deer, and it was both scary and beautiful. I wondered if I could bring my rifle up without spooking him, so I ever so slowly moved it around. It must have taken 10 minutes to shoulder the rifle. I looked through the scope and dreamed of the day Dad would let me shoot my first deer. The sling swivel on the rifle squeaked, and the deer bolted from the clearing. I looked disgusted at the sling swivel and said to my rifle, "Next time I need to make sure to put a drop of oil on you." Then I hugged the rifle since it was my best and only real friend. I remembered the day Grandpa gave it to me. I was so proud. I wandered over by the stream, sat down and pulled the sandwich out of my bag. It was peanut butter and grape jelly, my favorite. I was starved because I hadn't eaten anything since breakfast yesterday and wanted to wolf it down, but I heard Grandpa's voice, "Little Chief," his pet name for me. "Always conserve your food when you're in the woods. Too much food will make you too slow in the woods. Save your feasts for the teepee." I ate half the sandwich and put the other half back in my bag. Then I leaned back under a lone Douglas fir, relaxed and almost fell asleep until an angry squirrel barked and disturbed my rest. I looked up. He was about 10 feet above me on the trunk of the tree. He was barking and swishing his tail, all upset that I invaded his tree. Then I noticed the Douglas fir had at least 3 other squirrels in it. This was a proud old grandfather tree which had weathered many storms. The rough bark reminded me of the many wrinkles in Grandpa's face. When I stood up, the brave squirrel ran up the tree, hid in the branches, and continued to complain. I hugged the tree and enjoyed the rich smell of pine and the rough texture of the bark. I tried to touch my hands, but it was so big around I could barely touch my fingers. The squirrels got upset and started barking at me, complaining that I was bothering their tree. I walked around the tree and noticed it stood alone by itself, just like me. There wasn't another tree within 100 yards. I sat on the ground, looked at the tree, and began to think. For squirrels in one tree and no way for them to escape, I should be able to do something about this. It seemed like Grandpa's voice echoed in my ears, "Little Chief, the Great Spirit has given you a big gift. Use your mind and don't become ensnared by it." I looked up at the sky and said, "Thank you, Grandpa, and thank you for teaching me so many things." I looked in the possibles bag and found a piece of cord that looked like it would work. There were little saplings all around the base of the big tree that were perfect. I made a noose and tied it to the top of the sapling, bent it close to the big tree, let it go, and watched it fly away. There was a branch which stuck out from the big tree, and I cut a notch in it with my knife. I found a stick on the ground and cut a matching notch so the two fit together perfectly. I tied the little stick to the rope and threaded the noose over both the branch and the stick, making sure it was hanging freely. Then I put the notches together, and they held perfectly. I touched the small stick and the snare tripped with the noose catching my finger. Reaching into the possibles bag, I tore off a piece of my sandwich, licking my fingers and enjoying the taste of the peanut butter and jelly, and stuck it on the end of the small stick. Resetting and testing the trap made the sandwich came off the stick too easy. I ran to the stream and grabbed a piece of grass, came back and tied it around the sandwich. This time it held. I smiled and swore I heard Grandpa, "Good snare, little chief. You remembered everything I taught you." I moved back, sat down on the ground, crossed my legs, and patiently waited. The squirrels had all the time in the world, but I needed to be home in time for dinner or face another beating. All I had to do was catch one squirrel since I could always shoot the others. I anxiously watched as the brave squirrel came down the tree. He stopped every few feet and sniffed. I watched as he moved out on the branch, his tail swishing, and sniffed at the piece of sandwich. He wanted it, but something didn't seem right to him. He reached and then moved back, did that several times, and finally grabbed the piece of sandwich and tripped the snare. The noose snagged his neck and flung him off the tree. He thrashed around in the air trying to get free. I jumped up, ran over and smacked him on the head with my knife, and watched as the life slowly ebbed from his little body. I took him out of the snare, reset the trap, went over by the stream and started field dressing him. I glanced at the snare and watched as another squirrel headed towards it. Once the squirrel was field dressed, I put him in a plastic bag, weighted it with a rock, and set him in the stream to cool. The other squirrel just tripped the snare, so I ran over and took care of him like I did the first one. I didn't bother resetting the snare this time since I thought I needed to shoot a couple squirrels or Dad might get suspicious. I field dressed this squirrel while making sure I kept the others in the tree because I didn't want to lose them. One was persistent, so I pulled up the Mauser and shot him. The other one ran back up into the branches and hid. I decided to sit and wait for the last squirrel to come down the tree and shoot him, then clean the last two at the same time. It didn't take long for the squirrel to start down the tree, and I had my rifle ready. I waited until he paused, took aim, and shot him right through the eye. He fell to the ground. I picked him up, field dressed both of them, and dropped them into the plastic bag in the stream. I washed all the blood and entrails off my hands and seriously wanted a drink, but remembered the last time I drank from the stream I got a case of beaver fever. I checked my watch and was sad because it was time to head back to the house. I picked up the squirrels, put them in the possibles bag, and started trotting towards the house. I remembered to stop along the way and drop off my extra ammo in a cache. The closer I got to the house, the slower I moved, trying to prolong my time away. I arrived home 5 minutes before I was expected and saw Dad sitting on the porch. He looked terrible. "Hey, worthless shithead, did you get any squirrels?" I walked up in front of him and stood at attention. "Yes, sir," I answered and pulled out the plastic bag. He snatched it out my hands and looked inside. "For squirrels. Okay, how many rounds do you have left?" I dropped one round in his outstretched hand. He turned it around and looked at it. "Let me see your goddamn revolver." I handed it to him in the correct way. He counted the 5 rounds in it and even sniffed the barrel to see if it had been fired. "Okay, worthless little shit, how in the hell did you cheat and get 4 squirrels with 2 shots? "I used a snare on 2 of them, sir." He looked at me. "Then why the hell didn't you use the snare on all 4 of them and save my ammo?" "I would have, sir, but I was running out of time." He started muttering words to himself I couldn't understand and finally said, "Take these squirrels into your mother and tell her to hurry up. I'm hungry." "Yes, sir." I took the bag into the house and handed it to Mom. She looked inside. "For squirrels, I didn't think you'd be able to do it. I'm so proud of you." I beamed at her. "Thanks, Mom. Dad says you need to hurry up because he's really hungry." I took the guns into the basement, put the revolver up after putting the hammer back on the empty chamber, cleaned and wiped down the rifle and put it back in the rack. Mom called me for dinner, and it was almost a festive occasion because it was one of the few times we were allowed to talk. Dad asked me about the snare, and I was proud to tell him all about it. He kept eyeing me like he didn't believe me, so I offered to take him to the tree and show him how I did it. Finally, he mumbled something and went back on the porch. After dinner, I went to my room and did the homework Mom had picked up from school for me today. Then Elle lay back on my bed, fell asleep, and dreamed about running away from home. Flashback, Jennifer Donaldson. Late 1999, my first day, and hopefully last day of Yucky Ballet. Daddy was still busy trying to find me a good gun club, but Mommy knew exactly where she wanted to take me for ballet lessons. It was the Ekaterina Maximova School of Russian Ballet. I guess Ms. Maximova was something called a prima or primo ballerina from something called the Bullshit Theater in Russia. I didn't care because to me it was a huge annoyance and I figured they made a mistake when they called it Russian. They should have called it Russian because I couldn't wait to be Russian out of the class. We wasted all morning shopping for nasty pink tights and an even worse pink bodysuit. Oh, Jennifer, you look so cute, Mommy said. I looked at myself in the mirror and stuck out my tongue. Jennifer, don't you dare do that, Mommy scolded me. Mommy, don't they make these yucky outfits in a good color like camouflage? I teased as I pulled at the uncomfortable top. No, Jennifer, they do not. You look wonderful in pink. It's your color, she replied. I thought, the only thing that looks good in pink is babies because they're naturally pink. Don't tell Mommy, but I do like pink. It's just that everything she buys me is pink, and I'm pretty sick of it. I do like camouflage better. It's really my color. I even took some of G.I. Joe's clothes and dressed my Barbie in them. She looked so hot. I hope to look just like her when I grow up. That reminded me of how I had G.I. Joe rip Ken's head off. Ken is such a baby and gay. Mommy caught me when I did this, was very upset at me, and threatened to send me to the doctors. I was able to get Daddy to talk her out of it. Later when we were alone, he even laughed about it and agreed about Ken. Besides, G.I. Joe has cool weapons. Ken doesn't have anything Barbie doesn't give him. I was a little excited about class, not because I wanted to do ballet, but because I was going to be the primo or prima pain in the rear. I had been watching more TV shows with snotty kids on them and had a great plan. When we arrived, I stormed through the door like I owned the place. Ms. Maximova was sitting at the desk and gave me a dirty look. So I dropped into a chair and said, "What the heck are you looking at, Katie?" I heard Mommy gasp behind me, "Jennifer, you mind your manners." Ms. Maximova was not amused and said in a heavy accent, "Ms. Donaldson, perhaps you need to have a talk your daughter." I giggled and looked at Mommy. Is she speaking English? I couldn't understand her. Ms. Maximova turned red in the face. Mommy grabbed me by the arm and took me outside. "Jennifer, what are you doing?" I smiled really big. "Mommy, I saw on TV this is how famous ballerinas are supposed to act. And since I want to be famous, I thought I'd start acting like it right now." I know it was almost a lie. That's why I said I only wanted to be famous, not a famous ballerina. "Well, young lady, that's not how they really act, so you need to stop it. Can I ask Ms. Maximova if primo ballerinas act like spoiled little brats?" Mommy gave me a very stern look. "It's prima ballerina, and no, young lady, you will not ask her anything like that." "Why, Mommy, isn't she a prima ballerina?" "Jennifer, she was one of the best ballerinas in the world. You are very lucky to have her for a teacher." I smiled. "Okay, sorry, Mommy. I was just trying to act like I thought I was supposed to." We walked back in the studio, and Ms. Maximova was still giving me a dirty look. "Mommy, I think Ms. Maximova hates me. She keeps giving me a bad look." "Mommy," and she started discussing things, and I interrupted. "Is there a bathroom I can use?" Ms. Maximova pointed towards the bathroom. I went into the bathroom and took all the toilet paper and put it in both toilets and started flushing the heck out of them until water was flowing all over the place. Then I went back into the office area and sat back down. "Miss Jennifer, are you ready for your first lesson?" Ms. Maximova asked. I giggled at her English until Mommy gave me the evil eye. "Yes, Miss Katie, I'm very excited to take my first lesson." Mommy gave me a dirty look. "Jennifer, address her by her last name." Oh, when she called me Miss Jennifer, I thought we used first names. "Sorry, Ms. Maximova." And I smiled at both of them. "Very well, go into the studio and warm up. The other students will be here soon." Ms. Maximova replied. I had no idea what she meant by warming up for ballet, so I went in the room she called a studio and started running around and dancing like Britney Spears on MTV. I was even singing Baby One More Time. There were 2 other girls in the room watching me, and they decided it looked like fun, so they came over, and soon we were all dancing around and giggling with each other. I saw a CD player and went over to it, but there was some boring CD in it, so I replaced it with my CD and turned the volume up as high as it would go. They would be so surprised when they turned it on. A few other girls came in the studio and joined right in, and soon we were all dancing like Britney. Ms. Maximova walked in, looked at us and yelled, "Young ladies, what are you doing?" I looked at the other girls and said, "We're dancing." "Miss Jennifer, those gyrations you were doing couldn't be called dancing." I gave her my innocent smile, but Ms. Maximova, Britney Spears dances this way, and she made millions of dollars last year. How much money do you make dancing ballet? Ms. Maximova turned red in the face. That does not matter. Those gyrations are not dancing. She had us line up against the wall and start doing exercises. I don't know why they were called exercises because they weren't hard to do. She told me to assume first position, and I asked her really loud, "Is that anything like missionary position?" I didn't know what it meant, but I saw it on a TV show, and everyone laughed when the little boy gave that answer. No one laughed when I asked, but Ms. Maximova turned red and Mommy came over and pulled me out of line. "Jennifer, you'd better behave, or you will go to bed without dinner." "Mommy, I don't understand. What's missionary position?" I asked again very loud. I heard a few of the other mothers snicker. Jennifer, we'll talk about this later. You'd better be good. Mommy threatened me. I acted hurt, fell to the floor, and pretended to cry very loud. Mommy, please don't hit me again, and please let me have dinner tonight. I heard several of the other mothers gasp. I peeked at Mommy, and she was so red in the face she looked like a beet. Mommy knelt beside me and whispered, Jennifer, if you do one more awful thing, you won't go to the gun club. Oh, this was serious. I jumped up and hugged Mommy. Sorry, Mommy. This class has me all upset and confused. I'll try to be good. I went back over in line and noticed everyone was watching me. Ms. Maximova came over and showed me what first position was, and then she had us do something called a grande playa, then we had to do a weird thing called a tindu, and finally a sada. She'd watch us as we did it and told us we were doing it all wrong, and then she'd demonstrate it for us. To me, it looked like we did them better than her. She was old and stiff-looking. Now, girls, we will turn on the music and do our exercises in time with the music. Ms. Maximova said, Miss Jennifer, since you are new in the class, will you please turn on the CD player? Thank you, Ms. Maximova. I would be happy to do that for you. I could barely keep from laughing as I walked to the CD player. I pressed play and Brittany came on singing, Baby One More Time. I put both hands over my ears and started running around and screaming. The other girls followed me. What is that terrible noise? Ms. Maximova yelled. She went over and picked up the CD player. I accidentally bumped into her very hard while I was running around. She dropped the CD player on the floor and it broke, killing Brittany's song. Ms. Maximova looked at the CD and was shocked when she saw the label on the homemade CD. I did it on the printer at home. It showed the skull and crossbones and said, Death to Ballet. Ms. Maximova started giving me a dirty look until another parent walked in the studio and told her there were problems in the bathroom. Ms. Maximova headed out of the studio to investigate, and we all followed her. She opened the door, and there was water and brown things that looked like poop all over the floor. The toilets must have plugged up. Now I will have to call a plumber. Ms. Maximova said, You, is that poop? One girl asked, who started to throw up. I almost laughed because I knew it was just pieces of brownies I'd snuck from home and thrown in the toilets when I made the mess. I'd seen something like this on a silly movie, but they used candy bars. This is a disaster, and I will have to close the school for the rest of the day, Ms. Maximova announced. Mommy was not happy because the first ballet class turned out so bad and was very grumpy as we were driving home. So I turned on the radio and was having a good time singing to the songs until Brittany came on. Mommy gave the radio a dirty look and turned it off. I think I've heard entirely enough of her today. I sat back in my seat and thought, Jennifer 1, Ballet Class 0. Dear listeners, next part of the story will be released soon. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.